This is Nutmeg. Welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. I know you are possibly a weary traveler in from a long distance and you need a place to rest, to relax, to calm down. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. Maybe you're an old and familiar face here in the Nutmeg Tavern. You, again, there's plenty of room here in the Nutmeg Tavern. So welcome, come on in, have a seat by the fire, by the bar. We are gonna have a good time today. I guarantee it. Maybe, I'll guarantee it. I'm your host, John Townsend. We're gonna be talking all things fun in the 18th century. And I am joined behind the bar, in from a world tour. Okay, he was in Indianapolis. Ryan.
Yeah, the road's a lonely place. It's good to be home. Thank you.
One show, but it went well.
It did.
You had fun. That's good. Not that many things like that are happening these days because of the world we live in. And doing all things technical behind the scenes on the other side of the time vortex, Aaron.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. Thank you for being here.
Wow, you can see it. He's like on the other side of the time vortex. It's all blurry and like jittery. I love that.
Post-apocalyptic.
It's hard to trans. Well, never mind. I'm not.
he's having a hard time on the other side of the vortex there with that whatever kind of cheesy camera you got going on.
I don't
back
get
there.
the nice cameras. That's
So,
fine.
we're gonna have a fun time today. I went back to the well. Well, actually, it doesn't look like that. Right now, it's like this. That's the old cover. There's a new cover, The Gentleman's Companion and The Tradesman's Delight. Chock full of wonderful goodness, this book is. There's recipes in here. I'll probably find a recipe, one of the many recipes that we will never do on 18th century cooking.
That you can count on it in that book.
Yeah, it's like, ugh. Rambolililo. I can't even pronounce that one. So I definitely won't do that one. For ulcers, for dysentery. It's got so many great things in it. And sometimes, well, that's what we're going to be talking about. I have my tea, which is chock full of nutmeg. I have my nocino, which I am not going to spill this time. Actually, I didn't do it. Somebody else spilled it.
Real
Hush.
Real
My
quick.
goodness gracious.
And
Yeah.
if you see comments disappearing willy-nilly right and left in the chat, it's not Aaron,
Nope.
it's not Ryan.
No.
Some weird Google moderator is just axing people's comments. Is it still doing it?
Oh yeah.
So
What's going on, guys?
I don't know what
I
to
don't
tell
know.
you. Google's just gone nuts, and they're just like, so
I'm
be
gonna
good.
I'm gonna keep my eye on it, and I have some suspicions, but we'll see. It's actually if it's what I'm thinking of, it's really annoying. We'll see if it happens though.
Uh-oh.
I can't wait to hear more about this.
We only delete your comments if they're nasty or spammy.
Yeah,
'Cause
is it like special words they're
You
getting
can't
rid
be
of?
nasty
Or?
here.
No, he's
No,
not going to say.
I'm gonna let a couple more go, and then I will present my hypothesis to
Uh-oh.
all of you.
John,
Yeah, we'll see.
folks want to know what you got in that tiny little cup.
This is the nocino. This is Mr. Bendixson. Can you pronounce his
I
name
think
for
it's
me over there?
Bendixson, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
something
Bendix.
that.
Bendix.
Anyway, wonderful gentleman who presented me with some, as a sort of a trade thing, with some amazing bottles of mead, and then he threw in this little bottle of nocino, which is walnut, black walnut nocino. And I will leave it right there. It's nice and sweet. I like it.
I think it's John's favorite. Is it your favorite?
Yeah.
adult
Well, so far,
beverage
but
you can
I haven't cracked open some of those other bottles yet. So, too sweet for Ryan. He's not as sweet as I am.
drink? Give it to me dry. That's what I like my beverages dry.
Yeah, that goes down smooth. Yeah, one of those. This book, while it has rare medicines to take away gouty and other arthritic pains, how to take care of piles. Oh, whoa, watch that. Okay. How to get vermin killers. How to get rid of mice. First, you take the head of a rat or mouse. I'm going to stop there. Anyway, it's got things about dyeing fabrics. Those are kind of fun. Directions for keeping linen, to lay up linen without using for, Directions to keep linen laid up without using from damage for many years. So what if you're going to store away linen, you don't want it to get damaged? Having washed and well-dried your linen in the sun, which is one of the ways they used to whiten things in the 18th century. Fold it up and scatter in the folding the powder of cedar wood or cedar small ground, having first perfumed your chest with storax, which I'm not sure what that is, by which means not only dampness is prevented, but worms or moths. So I've heard of cedar chests, but here they're actually using powdered cedar in the folds of it. You would think, well, maybe you'd get some staining from that. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Right below it, further directions for keeping woolen or linen sweet and pleasant, and likewise from being damaged by moths and worms. Take orange peels, dry them in the oven, beat to a powder with some other ingredients. But orange peel ground up. That's a very interesting thing. So we've gotten questions about laundry. And we've got that series of laundry episodes, which are fun, by Maggie the Laundress. Thank you, Carol. And this has a bunch of laundry kinds of recipes. To make a soap to take out grease, spots, or stains out of cloth, stuffs, and silks. So they use alum, and they use Florence, the roots of Florence flame. Never heard of it. As well as a new laid egg and 2 pounds of cake soap. And then you make them up into soap balls. So they're using lots of fun stuff. To take away spots out of linen or woolen if it's a colored fabric. So most of them are like white, but in this case, what happens if we've got something that's blue and we don't want to ruin it by, it's like, yeah, I took away the spot, but now it's lighter there than every place else. Take the juice of lemons, 2 spoonfuls, a spoonful the juice of onion, that's interesting. Warm them over the fire, and with them often wash the spots, and then they will no longer appear. So lemon juice along with the juice of an onion, of course, might smell funny after, but the spots will be gone. Don't worry about that part. So I wanted to zip to the end because I thought this was incredible. Now this is the book that had what was the Tainted Brain recipe? Yeah. Remember that one? I'll find that one later on. We'll read Tainted Brain again because it's so good. But it was in chapter 7, and just sort of tripped on this one and said, okay, that's fun. 2 right in a row. The first one is, in case of your chimney being on fire, the means whereby it may be presently extinguished. Take an ounce of gunpowder. That's always how I start my recipe for chimney fires. How to get rid of a chimney fire? Well, you need some gunpowder. Take an ounce of gunpowder, a quarter of an ounce of brimstone, finely beaten, wet them with water, make wildfire thereof, and throw it in small pieces into a small pan of charcoal or coal fire, that the smoke may go directly up the chimney, and it will cause the soot of the fire the fire has taken instantly to fall by parcels till there be none left. Something like that. Okay, so we've taken care of our chimney fire.
Hey, real quick, I'm so sorry, but there are so many super chats. I feel like if I don't read some, we're going to get lost in the weeds here.
Okay, wait.
Can I do that?
Let me do one. Let me get this
sure.
Next one, and then I'll let him loose. To break or blow up a ship or vessel that has sunk though lying some fathoms underwater. I'm not going to read you those directions because you probably don't have a sunken ship you need to blow up that is underwater, but the directions are here. You may go.
Okay, so Tony Smith is in super chat. Yes, I want food ale. And what does the term proof stand for on whiskey?
He's messing with his mic. Keep reading.
Oh,
on,
well,
you're muted.
Go ahead.
the term proof on whiskey stands for it's twice the amount of alcohol that is in the drink. So if a whiskey is 50% alcohol, it's 100 proof, and it's always twice that. So that's what that stands for. Rob Reading is in super chat. Hello from Australia. Love your content. Thank you, Rob. Simple Logic 90 is in super chat. I love the channel for sure. YouTube has become my go-to for history documentaries and shows. Also, my baby is getting out of the NICU. Sorry, I'm just so happy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're happy for you. That's
exactly.
wonderful.
Glad to hear that.
Max, you're cool. John, our gentleman companion. Have you ever read anything about practical jokes in the 18th century? If so, any you recall?
Practical jokes. There's some joke books, but practical jokes, I'll have to think about that one. If you read some of the sort of fiction from the time period, you'll find some things like that going on. You can look for like the Adventures of Roderick Random and some other ones where you kind of get this sort of like adventure, and then occasionally there are practical joke-like things going on.
Did they do the old rub coal on the eyepiece joke? I like to imagine pirates are just constantly blacking people's eyes. He picked up the telescope. Ashley LeCount is in super chat. While I do like pineapple, I much prefer when Ryan is behind the bar. Welcome back. Thank you, Ashley. I like being here. Jacob Ferris, was there sporting events, and if so, what sports were popular in the time period?
Oh yeah, lots of sports going on, and some interesting ones. There was a picture I was going to put in the live stream last week, and it was a football match going on in a town street, it was sort of looked soccer like, but it wasn't. Like, I don't know, it was, one of those kind of weird football, and those things are starting to happen in the 18th century, and exactly what it is and what the rules are like, I don't know. But so lots of those kinds of sports and others, sporting things going on. Those are the closest things to sort of team sports that I can think of. But yeah, sports.
All right. Denise Maloney Piran. Hey, guys, I missed last Friday. So glad to be back in the tavern.
Welcome.
Glad to have you back. This is in the chat. How about mystery? Was there an 18th century equivalent to something like Sherlock Holmes?
Not much. I mean, the start of mystery novels is really a little bit later. It's really 19th century. We get a little bit of Gothic horror things starting to happen in the late 18th century. And then it really starts to, get more popular as we go into the 19th century. Early 19th century, we have things like Frankenstein being written, some other things. But mystery, not as much. It's still in its infancy. There might be, something where you could get sort of the hints of that, but not much.
Mega Rabbit Power is in super chat. Ever considered branching out into other aspects of 18th century frontier life, like how to load and shoot a musket or hunt a moose?
Well, I mean, we have done some musket sort of things on the channel. Not much. I mean, there are issues some around that. Anyway, and moose, I don't know. You got to go places to find moose. We talked to Tim Williams about that idea. It sounded interesting, but I don't know.
Here in Indiana, you can't sit on your back deck and watch moose go by.
No.
Alan in super chat. My wife and parents think I have a problem, but I consider myself an old soul and love history stuff, especially food and things of the past.
An old soul? What? Why would that be a problem?
We've all got a problem, apparently. I think that finishes up Super Chat, so you can go nuts with that book now. Thank you, guys.
Well, you know, to blow up the ship underwater, this one starts with gunpowder also. Probably a whole chapter on using gunpowder for various things. The best and safest way to blow up houses to prevent the progress of fire. So if your house is on fire, you should blow it up. This one also uses gunpowder. So, wow. To make a sundial upon the ceiling of a room and convey beams of sun onto it. Wow. I mean, I got some great ideas in here. Ceiling wafers. There's a recipe for ceiling wafers. Remember that?
Yeah.
From the ceiling, or from the writing series, and he did a section on ceiling, and we talked about wafers. Recipe for making wafers. For making your own sealing wax. How to write letters like gold without the help of gold. Which is, I mean, if you want to do that. Let's see now. There are one of the recipes that we had earlier was for disappearing ink, or to make invisible ink appear. A couple of recipes that I thought were strange, and one is to make new writing look old and of long standing. So maybe you want to make a forged document that's, looks old. So a lot of people want to do that. I mean, I'm always wanting to make forged documents. Take a dram of saffron and infuse it into a half a pint of ink. Let it warm over a gentle fire, and it will cause whatever is written with it to turn yellowish and appear as if of many years standing. Let's see. How to make a curious purple ink. He likes the word curious. I'm not sure what he means by curious. Like here
and curious.
Yeah, exactly. The next page over, to polish marble or any curious stone. To make any writing on parchment or firm paper decay and become unlegible, not illegible, unlegible in a short time. So disappearing ink, as it were. I don't know how quickly. Take quicklime, mix it with the white of an egg, rub the parchment or paper over with the said mixture when you intend to write. And although the writing for a time will seem fair, it will in a short time decay and look so faint that it can no longer be read. So, I mean, this book is just, and it's got some hilarious sections. So, it's a book. There aren't any pictures. It's just text, but it was like how to carve things. How, would you like to carve a moose or a bear? Well, here are the instructions. Well, it turns out you start with block wood and you take away everything that's not a moose, and there you go. You have your moose. And also, I mean, you're gonna learn a lot from a book like this.
Well, first thing you want to do when you're making the canoe is remove everything that's not a canoe.
That's right. It's pretty simple. A great section, which having to do with, we talked money episodes. We had a couple big money sort of documentaries, couple videos. We've done a live stream on it. And the question came up about counterfeits and what to do. And there's a section about Chapter 3, valuable metals, their fineness to be known by assay of coins, and how they are to be known in their true value, and what is to be observed in preventing your taking false money. And so he talks about the weights, troy ounces, and how many carats, and all that good stuff. And then he talks about how you can find out what the fineness of silver or gold is. And he instructs you to make a series of needles out of gold, silver, and copper alloys in various potencies. Let's see, what do you call it? Carats of golds. And so you have this whole series of needles, and then you have a touchstone, and you take the coin or the silver and you rub it on a stone, very, very fine stone, usually black, something like that. And then you take your known needles of various finenesses and you rub them on the stone beside that, and you can sort of judge that. Now, he doesn't talk about what to do sort of next, but part of that judging, then they still use this means today. If you don't want to have some super expensive way of testing the fineness of a coin, you can still do it with exactly the same kind of method, and they'll have different sorts of acids that you will put on these little marks, and you will be able to it sort of eats away the gold if it's of a particular value, or silver, or whatever you're kind of testing. So they're using this same method they would use today here in this, where he's describing this needle method. And he also says, few that have the handling of money are ignorant that coins of all sorts have been counterfeit. Some by, excuse the words here, some by embasing in mixture, others by corrupt metals, and others by way of plating. To know these in case of guineas or broad gold, first is to weigh them and try them by assay, as aforesaid, and then if you further suspect them, try them by fire or aqua fortis. If they may be of base metal or corrupted, they will soon grow dim, and their luster in a short time will more and more impair. But if you suspect them of being plated like guineas, throw them in different hard on the edge, and the embossment will open up. So if you take a plated coin and you sort of mash it on the edge, the plating will break open at the very edge, and you can see that the coin is plated. Because if you only scratch it very lightly and the plating is 24 karat gold, it will show as it's, oh, well, that's perfectly good gold, it's good, but and it's like, aha, it's only gold on the outside. So he's got so different ways that you can to test these things. Counterfeit milled coins, washed over or plated. To discover this, you will find the letters imperfect or perhaps none upon the edges of crowns and half crowns. So remember, let's see, did I have a crown here? I've got the piece of 8 here, and the milling on the edge, you'll be able to tell some of these by the milling not looking right or being missing altogether. And the plating sort of smears the look of the coins, so you can tell by looking very, very closely if it's been plated. As for old money, the worst size is the half crowns made with pieces of copper plated over. These you may know by raising in the middle, falling hollow, and being imperfect in the stamp, or by raising a thin plate on the edge. So yeah, there you go. You got the whole means of testing out your fake money right there. How's it going back there?
Ryan? Doing just great. How are things going right there? This is in the chat. How did people get even with ones who did them wrong? Could you call them out and fight to the death?
Well, you can bring them in front of a magistrate if it's a legal issue, and people would do that quite often. And there were lots of litigious things going on. People bringing lawsuits. So you do that. There's also what was it called? There's a name for it, and I can't remember it. An interesting name, and it had to do with if say somebody did you wrong, it wasn't quite a legal thing, but they were being unethical or some other issue, some sort of a neighbor, what you would do is you'd get a gang of, I don't know, 10 or 15 of your friends, and you'd wait till the late of the night, and then you would make lots and lots of noise all around their house all night long. So there were some ways that you could show your unhappiness with people who have done things to you. Yeah, you might call them out and fight them. I mean, certainly there's a certain quantity of that, but there's other ways that you can sort of get back at people in the 18th century.
And then another person was asking, how could folks tell if paper money was counterfeit in the time period?
Well, that's hard because it is, they didn't have anything like the, fancy printed, sort of copyright or, copy protections, copyright or counterfeit protections that we would have in our money, and still our money gets counterfeited, but I'm sure that would never happen anymore. But telling paper counterfeits has got to be much more difficult. There weren't they didn't have copiers, they didn't have all these kinds of crazy technology things. Most people didn't have a printing press to go, fake printing things. So the equipment was more expensive, but it was so primitive, the printing, that I'm sure quantities of counterfeit paper money was happening. I just haven't heard too much of it. And it's, of course, not happening in Great Britain because they didn't have paper currency till much later. Here in the States, I don't know. Good question.
So this is kind of like, I didn't prepare you for this. Somebody just said, do you have any goals or plans as Townsends gains popularity?
What do you think, Aaron, Ryan? I'll throw that on those guys. We all go.
I feel like sometimes it's still, you got to kind of take a step back, and it's like, I can't believe that we get to do this, and it's pretty humbling. Yeah. And so it's like the whole planning I don't know, it's still kind of mind-blowing sometimes, the day-to-day. Like, we can build a cabin and people will watch it, and that's crazy. I don't know. We have goals, but I don't know.
We don't plan on massive success. And whatever happens, we just roll with it, and we do what we do, right? We continue to make videos that we think serve our audience. And I
think sometimes what's tricky about that is we do have like long-term plans of projects that we would like to do. The cabin was one of them. That was around for a long time before it actually was done. But sometimes the most fun that we have is when we just get an idea and we go with it, and that's not something that's really planned out. So I think that we have, because of the added crew members, I think we have more freedom to do that now. It's like, oh, this is a cool idea. Let's run with it. So that's cool too.
Yeah, I think we have goals for maybe like doing more projects, bigger projects, expanding, but that's not guaranteed, like, and therefore we will be more successful. It's just now we can try more things out and experiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good question.
So let's talk about the people that help us be successful, as successful as we are. Lots of folks help us out on Patreon, and each week I try to get to the brand new people on Patreon, and I intended to actually have sort of two lists here. I'm gonna try this in the future, but for now, the brand new people on Patreon this week: Brian, and then there's Catherine, John Lemmy, Aaron Stout, Christopher Grant, and Jack W. Those are brand new people on Patreon this week. People also support us on PayPal if they just want to kind of do a one-shot thing. So you'll find a PayPal link down in the description section of this descriptions, well, whatever it is. Down there, you'll find it. And brand new people on Townsends Plus. So Eric B, Nancy R, Brenton W, Victoria W, David U, Jordan W, Kathy W, lots of W's in this, and Selena V and Vance R. Those are brand new people on Townsends Plus. So lots of folks help us out. It isn't just you have to be popular on YouTube and that's the only way, and it's ads on YouTube videos, and wow. But other people saying, hey, we want to support you, in a different kind of way, and super chat, and people buying merch like Nutmeg Tavern mugs and whatnot. Those help us, spend the time and go out and go to Ohio and shoot videos, or build a cabin. We can't do those sort of without all those people underneath us saying we're able to. We want to help you do that.
So speaking of a big goal, Townsends
Yes.
Plus was something that we talked about for a long time.
Yes.
And we launched that this year in April, so that's still really brand new.
Yes.
If you guys are subscribed to that, there's a video that's going to be hitting your inbox tomorrow. So just heads up on that.
Yes.
Okay, in Super Chat land, we got some stuff to cover. Norman Fair, any chance of more package exchanges with Mrs. Crocombe in England?
We'll have to talk to the producer about that.
It would be super fun.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. Joy's in Super Chat had the question last week. Oh, okay, so this one's got several questions, just a heads up.
Oh, look out.
At the fairs / markets, were there little cheap toys and decorative items available? Were those things just not made at the time? And then when did the little lead toys come about? I'm not really sure what the second question
It's all right.
is.
I think she means instantly made or things
Oh,
made
there we go. Okay.
previously to that. So fairings, little items that you would buy for children, or just sort of simple. Yeah. Oh yeah. Lots of that kind of thing being done. Sometimes very simple things. Maybe sometimes little pottery pieces, little toy things, little simple items. Yeah, a lot of that's being done. Lead toys, especially like lead soldiers. That's something that's being made for the very wealthy early on, and pewter and lead items are constantly being cast and formed up and then melted down and reformed into other items all through this time period. Lead soldiers that we think of are probably a little bit later, but they certainly had some of those, just maybe not in the same kind of quantity as we think of them. I mean, they're as sort of super mass produced as they got to be in the 19th century, but they exist in the 18th century, just possibly in smaller numbers. So lots of those sorts of little toys being made. So okay. Yes.
Somebody in the chat is asking if curry was a popular spice in the 17th and 18th century.
Well, curry is starting to show up, and those sorts of flavors are showing up in English cookery in the late 18th century as people come back from India. Some of those flavors are being moved into the culture. So you will start to see those in the English cookery books in the late 18th century. You'll even find them in Hannah Glass and some of the other ones. They're not showing up all over the place, but they certainly are. That is affecting that culture now. That's not coming here to North America to any great extent, but certainly in Great Britain.
Well, somebody's asking if you throw tomahawks, and specifically the 1754 tomahawk that we carry.
The TH-54. So yeah, okay. Certainly throw tomahawks, and if you go back into the channel, you'll find a video on throwing tomahawks and knives. That's me doing it. And the TH-54 is a great throwing tomahawk. It's just a very, very simple forged tomahawk, very inexpensive, and is a great thrower. I like the TH 64 is a little better because they're a little lighter and a little more consistent, but 54s are wonderful.
This is in the super chat from Susan to all things unlegible.
Oh yes.
Rose, John is drinking walnut liqueur. I've seen nutmeg jams and jellies, but is there such thing as a nutmeg liqueur? A challenge for the tavern.
Well, there's oil of nutmeg that's sometimes used in the medicinal things, but and it's really sort of nutmeg oils extracted with alcohol, but it's medicinal. Other than that, I don't know. Good question. I'll have to do some digging on that.
In the super chat, Jose sends in a donation without a comment. Thank you. Akeem7 says, so how much money did the author actually want for the books, and were such books plentiful in the 18th century?
Such as The Gentleman's Companion.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know. I don't think it... Oh, wait a minute. Price, 2 shillings, 6 pence. That's medium. I think... Isn't the Primitive Cookery, doesn't it say 1 shilling on the front?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so a lower person's wages, workman person kind of thing, you might make 5 in a week. So, for a poor person, this would be a fairly expensive book, but I don't think it would be terribly expensive. And yeah, there were lots of books, maybe not, as specific as this about sort of trade secrets, as it were, but certainly plenty of books available, and more inexpensive ones, sort of pamphlets, and less expensive ones being really coming onto the market in the late 18th century. There's just such a massive change going on from 1700 to 1800. It's just so difficult to believe. Probably, a similar change in sort of popularity and change of, technologies as from 1900 to 2000.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, everybody make sure to hit the like button. That really helps with the algorithm. Just another easy way to support us. And I think we can get to that 1,000 today.
Did you have any thoughts on those comments disappearing?
There goes another one. I think it's something to do with a combination of emojis. Either a custom emoji with another one with a normal YouTube emoji. It's something with emojis, though, for sure.
Who would have thunk it?
Wow.
Who would
That's
have
strange.
thunk it?
Very
Do they
strange.
think they mean something strange?
I'm not sure. I'll do some digging, but it is emoji related. Yeah, and if it says your comment was deleted by Google, that wasn't us. So sorry about that.
So here's another super chat. It says, loved the almost deviled eggs. Thank you. The Grizzly is in super chat. Would you guys do an episode on Revolutionary Era food for the Patriots? How would have General Washington fed his armies? What would they have ate? The fighting redcoat British.
Well, if you go way back to cooking episode number 1, you will find soldiers' rations. And we have talked, there are probably a good half a dozen soldier-specific, a pound of meat, some other one of those sort of, a little bit more specifically soldier cooking, the fire cakes episode. So there's several ones that sort of touch on that topic a little bit more, and we can there's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Noah is in Noob Thunder. I'm sorry. Love the blacksmithing videos. Keep on rolling, fellas.
Thank you.
Brett Patrick, if Townsends was able to go back in time, where would he like to have been and what year?
I want to go back and I want to see Ben Franklin do the key experiment, and I want to see him get hit by lightning.
Get zapped. Speed and Style, Tony. Any books banned back then because they gave instructions that were illegal or harmful?
Depends on where you're at. So at different places and different times, printing was fairly regulated. And if we talk specifically in North America, Virginia was very, very, it's like, oh, you can't just print anything you want. So there's certainly some of those sorts of things going on, and there is political items that you couldn't necessarily publish in the time period. As we're getting closer to the Revolutionary War. There's definitely some friction there about what the royal governors are. It's like, well, hey, you can't say bad things. So yeah, certainly.
Celestial Tease says, do you think that people in America were more likely to be inspired by British cuisine or Native American local cuisine?
Did she use the word, or they use the word inspired?
Yes.
Inspired. So there is always a sort of a cultural, it's not inspired that I want to use it. It's cultural influence, right? And there's a lot of Native American cultural influence into the cooking that happens with the non-Native Americans that come into North America. A lot of that has to do straight up with the materials that are available and how the Native American, like maize, corn, was the most prolific crop, and you can't cook it the same way you cook other grains. And so the Native American cookery, by it being the only way it works, influences the cookery in North America. So there is a lot of Native American influence like that that's changing now. That's changing the diets of those people that come into North America. All the rest of the cookery is coming, from England, and so you get a melding of those two cultures. And how do we adapt this kind of cookery to what we're used to and what we want to eat? So whether they wanted to or not, they were influenced by it, and they would probably say, "Oh no, we aren't necessarily all that influenced by these, savages or whatever, right?" But they certainly are eating that food because it's the most effective or efficient way of feeding people in North America at the time.
Trevor's in Super Chat says, how are y'all doing? Hope all is well. Love your channel.
Thank you.
I think we're doing well. Yeah. Sue O'Connor, look up spiced meads. They'd have nutmeg introduced. It's a place to start.
Yeah, so spiced meads called metheglin, even though it sounds a little like something that would be illegal today, it's just a kind of fancy spiced mead in the 18th century. And yeah, they use all kinds of fun spiced things in metheglin.
Bridget Goddess in Super Chat. I'm enjoying the sweet corn this time of year. Was sweet corn available and consumed in the period, or would all corn have been used for feed, alcohol, etc.?
Oh, no, they're eating corn green, which is sort of like sweet corn. Now, is it sweet corn, right? That's a little trickier. So right. The corn varieties have changed so much. So almost all the corn that we have today is dent corn. Most of the corns back then they all were flint corns, like popcorn is today. So what that's like, you can take any corn and eat it in the sweet corn stage. It might not be terribly sweet, but it's all edible like that. You can just go out into the field and eat up green field corn, and it's good. So yeah, they were eating corn like that, and we've even done that in the episode where we did the corn chowder. What is it called? Corn. What's the word?
We're talking about the Colonel James Smith one.
Yes.
The venison corn, right?
Yes, venison. I can't remember the word for it. Doesn't matter. But yes.
Succotash.
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 There you go. Gosh, it's like suffering succotash.
Okay, Nunya Bidness, excuse me, is in Super Chat. Bringing the past to present as a godly activity. Thank you.
Thanks.
Luke Burge. I assume the diets back then had a lot less sugar in them. It's scary how much sugar in our normal foods. Nowadays, do you try to avoid eating a lot of sugar, or don't you think about it much?
You're talking a personal diet instead of 18th century diet.
Yes.
Number one, yes, the amount of sugar that people eat per year, it has skyrocketed in the last 20 years, and you don't even want to compare it to 100 years and 200 years ago. So they're eating just minuscule amounts of sugar in their diet, even though we have the occasional recipe that's just like, oh, you use 5 pounds of sugar. You know, they're just not eating all that much of it, especially people that are working class people, maybe people on the frontier. Yeah, they've got sweets, they have maple sugar, they've got some other sugars, but they're not eating any great extent at all. Me personally, I'm a low carb person, so I do stay away from sugars most of the time, except when I have to do a cooking episode and I have to eat it.
John Talley is in Super Chat. Wasn't able to catch the Ryan and Aaron live stream, so I just recently watched it. I really enjoyed it. Any shot of getting the co-hosts doing a behind-the-scenes series on Townsends Plus, they really are all stars.
What do you think, guys? No. Okay, we move on.
Yeah.
We're willing to give anything a shot. Absolutely.
Well, I'll be going on vacation someday. You guys can sit in again. No, I think I'll be doing a live stream from.
Yeah, those are good.
So who knows? Who knows what? Who knows what's going to happen?
It would be cool to do a kind of, here's how we do the video process.
Yeah, we try to spread out who's doing the Townsends updates on Townsends Plus, but those are short little guys. So
Yeah.
Super chats just keep rolling in, so I want to keep going. Jonathan, first super chat from me. Would you consider doing a video on 18th century flags, or is it the territory and not getting into? Hand-stitched flags are beautiful and not discussed that much. Also visit CT.
Yeah, flags are very interesting, very symbolic, interesting things that we don't really pay that much attention to today, really. It's like, oh, it's got some colored things, you know, but there's a lot to flags, that's for sure.
So Arthur says, greetings from Brazil. Marcus says nothing, but sends in a super chat, so thank you. Nigel Gilbert in super chat. Happy Friday, everyone in the tavern and in the chat. May your nutmeg harvest be abundant.
Woo.
Cheers to merry old England. Done something is in super chat. Greetings from Custer Fire Protection District.
Okay.
Thank you. Ed sends in a super chat without a comment. Marcus sends in a super chat without a comment. John Townley has more to say in super chat. Can you tell us about the process you guys go through when deciding the subjects of either the videos or live streams? Which process? That's a lot.
So there's we have like 4 or 5 different sort of ways it happens. And sometimes it's like this. And then because you can find some just incredible stuff like that. It's like, whoa, experienced. Here's a medicine for hearing problems. So sometimes it's like that, and other times it's a long process. Me wanting to build the cabin. I probably had that cooking back here for a decade before we could do it. So I may have even started thinking about the cabin before the German kitchen was built. But it's like, well, I won't have enough time for that. And so we'll do a different process. And, then there's the process these guys have, it's like they'll run onto something. Okay, John, how do we do this? Or, here's what I want to do. And I'm like, okay. So, there's just so many different ways. Did you have any input in that?
No. I think that covers it.
And other times people come to us, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, some historic site or someplace will come in and, hey, let's do this.
Yep. That covers it real well. Rose is in super chat. Just to clarify, I'm familiar with both I'm getting tongue-tied on that. Metheglin and mulled wine, etc. My challenge is for nutmeg to be the only spice used in the nutmeg liqueur. Wow.
I'll have to look up oil of nutmeg again and double check what's going on with that.
Denise Maloney Piran, again in super chat. Love Townsends Plus. Great extra content, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anna is in Super Chat. Have you considered doing videos on Native Americans about their view of colonization?
I mean, that's a tough one, right? So, I mean, that's like going out and specifically cultivating controversy, and we just don't do that.
Truth.
Plus, and you want to find the right person to
speak
on.
Exactly. None of us are Native American here, and so we just really feel like if we're going to go there and we're going to cover that stuff, we need to cover that with somebody who should be speaking about it, and I don't know that it's us.
That would be one of those month long prep
videos.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And there is, if you want to get some take on that, the Museum of American Revolution has a whole the whole interesting exhibit on that, and they've got like the representatives, virtual representatives or of like 6 or 8 different tribes.
Yeah, it's really great.
And it's real interesting to hear them kind of speaking into that and what they think about the revolution and whose side they were on and what they think about that. So there are some people who've taken on that, that sort of question. I don't know how we would do it. So.
Lisa says, your content is golden and much happily received.
Thank you.
Bridget says, livestock, ? Consider doing a series of episodes on livestock, breeds, uses, equipment.
We certainly have considered it. It is an undertaking unless you find just the right partners to work with, and that can be difficult. So
Yep. Michael is in Super Chat. How were people with disabilities treated in the 18th century? I'm guessing physical disabilities.
Yeah. They're certainly trying to work with some of that. I mean, whether they're amputees or people with other kinds of disabilities. Sometimes that's. Obviously, they're not treating them like necessarily we do, but I don't see that there's necessarily. A lot of different cultures, different situations, and they're dealing with them in very different ways. Sometimes harshly and sometimes in a very kindly manner. So I don't have a good way of answering that specifically because. I can think of sort of, images, paintings, and different sorts of, things that you get implied in writing, and it's a real mixed bag.
King Clone Central says, what would have been more popular in the time period, rum or whiskey? And the bonus question is, which do you prefer best? Love the work, keep it up.
Well, it depends on where you're at.
That certainly does.
So, it's a very, very locale, region kind of situations. It's like what's cheaper wherever you're at, right? So sometimes while one is available, you would make the whiskey, it might actually be cheaper to drink imported rum and send your whiskey away to be sold in a different place. So there are situations that are like that in the time period. Both are available, and personal preference, I'm not big on either one necessarily. It doesn't take very much of that to do bad things to me. So what does Ryan say? I don't think you're a big rum guy, are you? You're much more.
I'm a bourbon.
He's a bourbon guy.
Yeah, there's a difference between whiskey and bourbon. We don't have to talk about that right now. But I'm a bourbon guy. If I'm going to be mixing drinks, I would probably prefer rum. One, because I like rum when it's mixed with things, and also because I don't have to spoil good whiskey.
Oh, funny stuff. Funny stuff.
Marcus is in Super Chat. Are there any foods we have record of from the 1800s, but whose recipes have been lost? If so, what are some examples? Finally figured out Super Chat. Thank you, Marcus.
Yeah. Well, and we're talking 18th century, so 1700s, and some of the drinks are like that, right? So they can vary a lot.
Yes.
And we have almost no recipes for the drinks. They talk about bumbo and this and that and all kinds of, it's like, okay, what is it?
It's very speculative.
Right, and you really have to guess and sort of imply and look at later recipes, and you don't know. There are many different North American dishes since the first North American cookbook shows up in 1797, 96. There's all kinds. There's like 200 years of cookery happening before that. We don't know exactly what it's like because nobody ever wrote a cookbook. We get some, descriptions in a book, but it's just a description. It's not a recipe. So there are lots of things.
All right, so sorry, folks, but this is the last super chat that I can read today, and it's the last one in the queue right now. So,
Okay.
Dylan, new to the channel and love it. Have you considered touring old forts across the U.S.? Grew up going to Ticonderoga and William McHenry in upstate New York. Thanks a lot. Love the tavern. And the two that just came in, guys, we'll just have to get them next week. I'm so sorry.
So the answer is yes, yes, and yes, but wow, how can I do that and do all the other stuff I do? Wow. I would love to do some like on the road stuff and go to various places, but that's a lot of, there was some plan to do a lot more traveling in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that didn't happen, and it's still not happening. So there's that one. So big announcement right now, don't tune out, because right now we're going to be dropping a cooking episode. You get it. You get the first news to a brand new cooking episode coming out right now. Is it live?
Live right this
It's
second.
live right now. So I'm going to sign out now. I want to thank...
Yeah, we're going to drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, we're going to drop a link in that
There it
thing
is.
that he just said.
Well,
It's in the chat. So quick thanks to all you amazing supporters. Patreon, Super Chat, people who just watch and comment, people who are purchasing merch, you wonderful folks on Townsends Plus. You guys make it happen. I want to thank you for your amazing help in what we do. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everyone out there, and have a wonderful weekend and enjoy that video.
Go watch it.